At 11:42 p.m. on a Friday, Emma Lewis climbed into the back of a black Toyota Camry outside a crowded downtown bar. She texted her roommate one word: "On my way, automobile." The app showed a familiar route: 8 miles to her apartment, 20 minutes with traffic. Driver rated 4.98. Hundreds of trips. Nothing about it looked unusual. But at 11:57 p.m., halfway home, the little blue on the map stopped moving. The car pulled off the highway, cut through a side street, and then disappeared from the network. Emma's phone went offline 3 minutes later. Her roommate watched the screen in bed, confused, then annoyed, and finally terrified as the app quietly switched from arriving at 12:02 to trip completed, with no sign of Emma at the front door. By sunrise, the Camry would be found abandoned behind a shuttered strip mall. Engine cold, doors unlocked. The driver's phone is on the floor. No blood, no struggle, and no trace of Emma Lewis. This is the story of the Uber ride that never reached the drop-off, and the digital trail that looked clean, until investigators realized someone had learned how to weaponize the very system meant to keep passengers safe. Riverbend, Ohio wasn't a big city, but it pretended to be on weekends. On Friday nights, downtown lit up, college kids spilling onto sidewalks, office workers loosening ties, live music leaking from bar doorways, food trucks lined up along the river walk. Rideshare cars did slow loops like sharks, headlights blinking as they accepted trip after trip. By 10:30 p.m., Emma Lewis, 27, had already decided she was done for the night. She wasn't the closing down the bar type. She worked in HR for a regional hospital system, liked her sleep, and had an 8 a.m. Zoom the next morning. Her friends begged for one more drink. Emma shook her head and stepped outside to order an Uber. The app showed surge pricing in effect and a 5-minute wait. She rolled her eyes but hit confirm. Safety features flashed on her screen. Check your ride. License plate, car model, driver photo. Share your trip with a friend. Call 911 from the app if you feel unsafe. She'd used Uber hundreds of times. She barely noticed the warnings anymore. Upstairs, music thumped. On the street, a black Camry pulled around the corner, headlights sweeping across Emma's face. License plate, GMX 2710. Driver, Daniel M. Rating, 4.98. Profile photo, guy in his 30s, short beard, baseball cap. Everything matched. Emma opened the back door and slid in. "Hey, Emma?" the driver asked. "Yeah, Daniel. How's your night?" "Long," she sighed. He chuckled and tapped start trip. The car merged into traffic. On Emma's screen, the blue route glowed familiar. She saw no reason to doubt it would take her home. On paper, Daniel Morales, 34, was the kind of rideshare driver every passenger wanted. He'd passed the background check. No criminal record. Clean driving history. Full-time gig worker logged 60 to 70 hours a week. His passengers described him in ratings. Super chill, felt safe. Great convo, would ride again. Really respectful, especially late at night. He kept bottled water in the back. Phone chargers. A small trash bag. The Camry smelled like lemon cleaner, not old food. But behind the scenes, Daniel's life was frank. 2 years earlier, he'd worked in logistics for a regional shipping company. When the company downsized, he was laid off. He tried to bounce back. Rideshare seemed like a quick solution. Then came a medical bill from his mother's surgery, credit card debt, predatory auto repair loan at sky-high interest. By the time Emma stepped into his car that Friday night, Daniel was 3 months behind on rent, sleepless and desperate. He wasn't dangerous in the way people imagine when they think of late-night rides gone wrong. He wasn't a predator who planned to target a woman alone. His problem was different and, in some ways, harder to spot. Daniel had discovered something inside the rideshare system that shouldn't exist. A way to make a ride disappear, not physically, digitally, and that he thought might be the last trick that pulled him out of debt. He was wrong. Emma's apartment sat on the east side of town, about 8 miles from downtown. The route followed the main highway for 6 miles, then cut off onto local streets. First, everything felt normal. Street lights flickered past. The radio hummed low. Daniel made small talk about the weather, the upcoming game, and the road construction that never seemed to end. Emma answered politely, then pulled out her phone and scrolled through Instagram. She sent her roommate, Hannah, a quick text. 11:44 p.m., leaving now. 20 minutes. Hannah texted back, "Bring fries?" Loudly crying face. Emma replied with a selfie and eye-roll emoji. The highway was familiar until it wasn't. At 11:52 p.m., the car moved from its usual lane to the far right. Emma glanced up. They passed the exit she expected. I think you missed my exit," she said. Daniel nodded toward the windshield. "App's rerouting us. Looks like there's an accident up ahead. It's taking us around the back way. You'll see it update." Emma checked her screen. The map had shifted. Instead of the usual exit, the route now looped off onto an unfamiliar frontage road, then reconnected with her street from the opposite side. Travel time, still about 8 minutes. She relaxed. Rideshare apps reroute all the time. Maybe there was a wreck. Maybe Google Maps knew something she didn't. What Emma didn't know was that earlier that week, Daniel had installed a spoofing app, a piece of shady software he bought from a tech forum that let him fake parts of his GPS data to game the system. He'd used it once before to nudge the app into adding a few extra miles and minutes to long trips. Tonight, he was trying a more complicated move. He just hadn't decided what he'd do with it yet. At 11:57 p.m., the Camry's icon appeared to leave the highway on both Daniel's and Emma's screens. 3 minutes later, the car would vanish from the network entirely. At 12:03 a.m., Hannah checked her phone again. Emma should have been home. The Uber app showed the ride still in progress, moving slowly along some side street Hannah didn't recognize. She zoomed in, watching the little car inch forward. At 12:06 a.m., the line turned green, and the status flipped. Trip completed. Drop-off location, 1430 Maple Terrace, Emma and Hannah's apartment building. Except, the front door was still deadbolt locked, the hallway silent. Hannah frowned, got out of bed, and peered through the peephole. Empty hallway. She texted, "You outside?" No response. She opened the app and tapped "Call Emma." Straight to voicemail. She called again. Nothing. A cold feeling crept up her chest. Hannah stepped out onto the balcony and looked toward the parking lot, half expecting to see Emma standing there laughing with her phone dead. Nothing. She rechecked the app's trip details and tapped Report an Issue, then selected, "I have safety concerns about this trip." She typed, "App says she was dropped off, but she's not here. I can't reach her." On the other end, a rideshare safety specialist marked the case as urgent, but it would be nearly 30 minutes before anyone attempted to call Daniel's phone. By then, the Camry was sitting in darkness behind a strip mall 4 miles away, and Emma was nowhere in sight. At 2:11 a.m., a patrol officer named Chris Dunham rolled through the back lot of the Riverside Crossing Plaza, a decaying strip mall with more for lease signs than open businesses. He'd been sent to check on a suspicious vehicle reported by a night janitor. Black Camry, lights off, parked crooked near the dumpsters. Dunham ran the plate, GMX 2710. No wants or warrants. The car was cold, doors unlocked. Inside he found a rideshare sticker on the windshield. Daniel's phone was on the back floorboard. Screen cracked, battery at 3%. An Uber driver placard with Daniel's first name and photo. Emma's denim jacket crumpled on the rear seat. No blood, no broken glass, no sign of a struggle, just a nagging feeling that whatever had happened here, it had ended abruptly. He tried the engine. It turned over just fine. He called in the find. Within an hour, dispatch would connect this abandoned car to Hannah's safety report. Emma's family is calling to say she never came home. Uber's internal flag that an anomalous trip had been registered on Daniel's account. By 4 a.m., the Riverbend Police Department had a missing person, a stranded rideshare car, and a driver nobody could reach. The only thing they didn't yet understand? The trip data. On the app, everything looked clean. Pickup at the downtown bar. Route chosen by the system. The trip ended outside Emma's apartment. No gaps, no red flags. To the algorithm, nothing bad had happened. To the people staring at the empty car behind the strip mall, it was obvious something had gone very, very wrong. Uber flew in their regional security manager the next day. Maya Patel, a former federal cybercrime analyst. She met with Detective Jordan Hale, who'd been assigned the case. "You're telling me the app says she was dropped off," he said. "But we have your driver's car 4 miles away and the passenger missing." Maya pulled up the trip log. "Pickup confirmed," she said. "GPS shows normal movement along Route 17. Then at 11:57 p.m., there's a reroute due to traffic. Our system took them off the highway. At 12:06 a.m., the vehicle registers at your victim's home address. Trip ends. Payment processed. No manual override. Could the driver force end the trip somewhere else? Hale asked. "Not without the GPS confirming he's in the radius of the destination," she said. "We built that to prevent fraud. But he doesn't end up at her apartment," Hale said. "He ends up behind a strip mall." Maya frowned. She dug deeper, pulling raw location data instead of the processed route. A different picture emerged. "There are micro gaps in the GPS signal," she said slowly. "Tiny ones, 1 or 2 seconds at a time. It looks like normal urban interference." "What is it really?" Hale pressed. She took a breath. "It could be nothing, or it could be a spoofing app. Something that temporarily feeds fake coordinates to make the system think the car is somewhere it's not." Hale stared at the screen. "So the system thinks he reached the drop-off, while he was actually somewhere else entirely." "Possibly," she said, "if someone knew exactly what they were doing." "And the someone," Hale said, "is a driver who suddenly dropped off the map." Maya nodded. Behind the software and the maps and the safety prompts, one thing was now clear. Daniel Morales had found a way to bend the app's reality. The question was whether he'd done the same to Emma's. Daniel didn't surface for 36 hours. He finally turned himself in at a suburban precinct 2 towns over, accompanied by a public defender. He looked exhausted, eyes bloodshot, clothes wrinkled. "I didn't hurt her," he said over and over. "I swear, I left her where she asked to be dropped." "Which was where?" Detective Hale asked. "On Maple Terrace, near her place," Daniel said. "She wanted to be dropped a block away, said she'd walk the rest, said her roommate was asleep and she didn't want to wake her with the headlights." "Why'd you leave your car?" Hale asked. "It stalled," Daniel said. "It was making a noise. I pulled behind the plaza to check it. My phone fell, screen cracked. The battery died. I couldn't afford a tow, so I walked home. The story had holes. Why hadn't he called Uber support from another phone? Why hadn't he asked anyone for help? Why had he gone completely offline while a missing person search unfolded? When confronted with the GPS anomalies, Daniel hesitated for the first time. "I installed something," he admitted. "It was supposed to help me get better fares. A friend online told me about it. It just nudged the route a little so I'd get paid more for traffic and distance. I didn't think it was, dangerous." "So you admit you were manipulating the app," Hale said. "Yes, but not. I didn't use it to hurt her. I swear. I dropped her off alive. Without Emma, it was his word against a digital trail that could be made to say almost anything. And until they found something more concrete, I didn't hurt her was technically still possible." Then a security camera changed everything. 2 days into the search, a patrol officer canvassing businesses along the frontage road noticed a small, weather-worn security camera mounted above the loading dock of an abandoned furniture store. The building had been vacant for years, but the property owner had never disconnected the security system. The footage backed up automatically to a forgotten cloud account. The timestamped video from 11:58 p.m. to 12:10 a.m. that Friday night showed. The black Camry is pulling off the highway and circling behind the store. The brake lights flared as it rolled to a stop near the far edge of the lot. Daniel is getting out, pacing, talking into his phone. The back passenger door opened. Emma stepped out, unsteady on her feet, jacket off, holding her phone. They talked for nearly 2 minutes. No audio. At one point, Emma shook her head emphatically and pointed toward the highway, as if insisting on going back. Daniel gestured toward the darkness beyond the loading dock, toward the strip of undeveloped land behind the plaza. At 12:03 a.m., Emma took a hesitant step in that direction. At 12:04 a.m., the back door closed. The brake lights flickered again. At 12:05 a.m., the Camry disappeared from frame, looping around the building toward the side road. Emma did not follow. The angle cut off the field behind the store. The camera never saw where she went next. But one thing was now undeniable. Daniel had not dropped her off at Maple Terrace. He'd taken her to a deserted industrial lot on the edge of town. And whatever happened after she stepped out of that car had nothing to do with a simple wrong address. Search teams pushed into the scrubby field behind the old furniture store. Knee-high weeds, bits of trash, abandoned tires, flattened beer cans. Dogs picked up Emma's scent near the spot the camera last saw her. Then nothing. No drag marks. No blood. No shallow grave. It was as if she had walked into the darkness and evaporated. Phone records showed her last known activity. 11:44 p.m., text to Hannah. 11:52 p.m., brief app check. 11:57 p.m., phone briefly disconnected from the car's Bluetooth. 12:01 a.m., reconnected. 12:04 a.m., all signals stopped. Digital forensics suggested someone had powered the phone off manually or destroyed it. Daniel insisted Emma had walked away with it in her hand. I asked if she wanted me to wait, he said. She said no. She was mad. She thought I'd tried to overcharge her with the route. She said she'd call another ride. Hale stared at him. From behind a deserted furniture store at midnight, Daniel swallowed. I know how it sounds, but I panicked. I'd already used the spoofing app. I knew I'd get in trouble with Uber. I just wanted to get out of there. The story might have held, if not for what they found in his search history. On Daniel's laptop, investigators found browser tabs still open to a dark forum marketplace selling tweaks and exploits for rideshare drivers. One thread in particular stood out. Fake drop-off. Make it look like they got home. The tool advertised. Modify GPS feed for final 500 meters. Force app to register successful drop-off at pinned address. Best for avoiding low ratings or false complaints. The seller bragged. Even if they report you, the system will show you did everything right. Daniel's purchase was logged 3 weeks before Emma disappeared. His private messages showed him asking, does it work if I'm a few miles away? Like if the rider wants to get out early? The seller replied, as long as you're moving slowly somewhere in the network, the system fills in the blanks. Think of it like writing the last sentence of the story yourself. Hale read the messages aloud in the interview room. Daniel brokenly admitted he'd tested the tool on a couple of short trips, forcing fake drop-offs when passengers asked to stop at gas stations or convenience stores. But I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, he said. I was just trying not to get deactivated when people got weird. Emma reported you before the trip ended, Hale said quietly. Her roommate hit the safety button. You used the exploit to make it look like you dropped her right where you were supposed to. That's not just about avoiding a bad rating. Daniel stared at the table. I didn't kill her, he whispered. I swear. She walked away. Walked where? Hale asked. Into the dark? Into a field? Into someone else's car? You manipulated the system designed to track her every second. You are the last confirmed person to see her, and you chose a spot with no lights, no cameras, and no witnesses. He had no answer. Months passed. Posters with Emma's face faded on lampposts. Tips trickled in and dried up. Nobody. No phone. No solid physical evidence beyond that jacket in the back seat and a digital paper trail partially rewritten by malicious code. The DA had a choice. Charge Daniel with homicide based on circumstantial evidence and risk losing at trial, or pursue kidnapping and unlawful restraint, arguing that his deception and isolation of Emma constituted a crime regardless of what happened afterward. They chose the latter. At trial, experts explained the spoofing app to the jury, how it worked, how it fooled the safety features, how it created a false sense of security for riders and for the company overseeing them. Maya Patel testified that without the raw GPS data, Uber's own system would have sworn Emma got home. Hannah cried on the stand, describing that lonely trip-completed notification and the empty hallway. Daniel's attorney argued, "Nobody, no blood, no confession. My client is guilty of tech violations at worst. The state wants to blame him for a mystery they can't solve." The jury deliberated for 2 days. They found Daniel guilty of kidnapping, on the theory that luring Emma to that deserted lot under threats and disabling digital safeguards constituted an abduction, even if the next step remained unknown. He was sentenced to a lengthy prison term. For Emma's family, it wasn't enough, because without a body, without a clear story of what happened in those missing minutes, the deepest question remained unanswered. Where did Emma go? Today, if you open a rideshare app in most American cities, you'll see even more safety prompts. Verify your driver. Share your live trip. RideCheck has detected a possible anomaly. Some of those features exist because companies learned from cases like Emma's. Some exist because coders realized bad actors were a step ahead. You won't find her name in public press releases. The company settled quietly with her family. But inside a few security teams and law enforcement circles, the case of the Uber ride that never reached the drop-off is used as a warning. A perfect rating doesn't mean you know the person behind the wheel. A clean map on your screen doesn't mean the car is where the app says it is. And once you step into someone else's vehicle, the most powerful safety feature you have isn't the tech. It's the uncomfortable instinct that says, "This doesn't feel right." Most people override that instinct. They don't want to seem rude. They tell themselves the app knows better. They keep scrolling while the route quietly changes. Emma never got the chance to undo that decision. Somewhere out there, a patch of ground knows the rest of her story. The rest of us are left with a partial map, a ride that ends in the wrong place, and a painful reminder. Sometimes the danger isn't that the system fails. It is that someone learns how to use the system itself as a weapon.